What's going on, guys? It's Grinch KD. So today we will be doing the top 5 epics for the normal mode Fire Knight. We're not going to be talking about hard mode because hard mode actually completely changes the mechanics of the fight. So it would be a totally separate, different 5 champions if we were to do hard mode. So this is only going to be the top 5 epics for normal mode Fire Knight. If you are struggling with Fire Knight and you have any of the epics that we talked about today, highly recommend giving their kit a read and seeing if they're worth building for your team. Without further ado, let's get into number 5. Number 5 is this magical man right here, Lorne the Cutter. Now, why do I think he's so good for the Fire Knight? Well, there's a couple things that you want for the Fire Knight. One of the things that you want for the Fire Knight is multi-hit A1s. A1s are going to smack the boss's shield a bunch of times because you need to actually get through that shield to start making any progress. The second thing you're going to want is a turn meter stealing or turn meter reduction effect on the boss. You want to reduce the boss's turn meter, that way he doesn't put his shield back up as often. And the third thing that you're looking for could potentially be a heal reduction. If you're not constantly keeping the boss's turn meter pushed back and he's getting turns here and there, you definitely want to have heal reduction. But what does Lorne the Cutter bring? Well, he brings the multi-hit A1, a triple hitter, really good at just breaking the boss's shield, especially if you have like an ally attack champion or you put counterattack on him. The boss smacks him, he triple hits, and then he takes a turn and he triple hits again. So you're already knocking off 6 pieces of that boss's shield. And then once you've got the shield actually down, you have 2 options. You could place this heal reduction, so if the boss does take a turn, he doesn't heal, or you could go for the full turn meter decrease on his A3. And this will decrease the boss's turn meter by 100%, which makes it so powerful. If you can make your Lorne the Cutter fast and get this off multiple times in the fight, this could be definitely a big difference maker on whether you succeed or you fail in the fight. Skills like this against the Fire Knight are so powerful. The less turns he takes, the easier he is to deal with. So Lorne the Cutter's kit to me just feels like it was made for Fire Knight. He's got basically everything you want for Fire Knight other than like reflect damage and counterattack, but he's got some of the most useful debuffs and attacks and skills for this boss. But guys, before we get too deep in the video, we have a fantastic starter link down below in the pinned comment at the top of the description. If you're new to Raid Shadow Legends and want to start playing, or you want to make like a second account, this is literally the best starter link that is out there on the internet. You're going to get a free legendary champion in Mr. Karato Fox Hunter. He is going to carry you so hard through that early game, as well as he's going to always be useful on your account. He is a fantastic legendary champion, specifically a really good damage dealer and crowd control champion. So getting him off the bat is just like a supercharge for your raid account. As well as you will get 3 fantastic epics to go along with him as you level up in Fayne, Vergis, and Romero. All amazing epics. So if you want to start playing Raid Shadow Legends or you want to make your second account, there is literally no better time than now. Make sure you hit that link down below. Let's get back to the video. Number 4 is going to be Skullcrusher. Now, Skullcrusher has a very simple kit, but it's extremely effective and allows like lower speed, more budget teams to succeed in the Fire Knight. He also works quite well on hard mode, but that's not what this video is about normal mode. Just figured that was worth mentioning because I used to use him on hard mode for quite a while. So the A1, only a single attack, but it is coming with a 50% heal reduction. It is better than nothing. It's gonna stop the boss's healing by a good amount. So it's nice to have it, but it's not necessary. Just a little bonus for the kit. Really what makes him such a godly Fire Knight champion is this full team counterattack ally protection. Not only will your entire team have counterattack when the boss smacks you if you time this right, but they're also gonna have ally protection, and he's gonna have unkillable, meaning he's not gonna die. Hopefully your champions aren't gonna die unless they're insanely squishy. And this counterattack is so good. It basically allows your entire team to get a free shot on the boss, and then when they get back to their turn, they can get an additional hit on the boss. So you're basically just doubling the amount of hits you're doing to the boss by throwing up this counterattack buff, really making it extremely easy to get through that shield even with a slow team. And then on top of that, if you make him like last in the turn order, he could potentially be the last hit and attack the boss when the shield's broken and maybe land his heal reduction. So a really simple kit, but he just enables Fire Knight so well for anybody that pulls him. I love this guy. Definitely deserving of the number 4 on our list. And then number 3 on this list, we're still not leaving the Ogryn tribes. These champions, man, they don't make the Ogrins like they used to, man. It's crazy. Number 3 is Oldgrus. Now, why Oldgrus? Well, his entire kit is basically designed for the Fire Knight. Let's start with his A1, all right? This A1, a triple hitter, just like Lorne. You love to see it. This is gonna smack a nice chunk off the boss's shield. Triple hits are so amazing for this boss. If you can get like 4 or 5 hits on an A1 as well, that's awesome. Maybe even throw a phantom touch on this guy. Now you're getting a 4th hit. Really good A1 to start the kit off. And then his A2 feels like it's also made for the Fire Knight. You've got the big decreased speed at 100% chance when you book it, as well as you have an 80% chance and a nice turn meter decrease. So 2 things you love to see. Decreasing the speed on the boss, allowing him to not move very fast, is so good. Most high-end teams rely on a decreased decreased speed, just because slowing down the boss is that important. It makes him so much easier to manage if you can get decreased speed on him. And on top of that, you get a nice turn meter drop 80% of the time. That's really nice. But it doesn't end there. On his A3, he has a 100% chance to land decreased attack and heal reduction. Two really good debuffs for the boss fight. So if you land these two debuffs on the boss and he manages to take a turn against you, he's not going to hit your team very hard because he's under decreased attack, and he's not going to heal because you have heal reduction on him. It is worth mentioning as well, an attack like this is also really good on the waves. You're going to get through the waves much easier because you're not going to be taking as much damage, so that's also worth mentioning. But it doesn't end there. We've got his aura. Increase ally speed in dungeons by 24%. You can have him as your aura lead. The Fire Knight's castle is a dungeon. This will allow you to build your champions slower if you'd like and focus on other stats, or you can still make them fast and just have this aura as a bonus on top of it. If you're running a team that focuses on dropping the boss's turn meter and never letting him take a turn, an aura like this is just going to help you do that so much easier because you're so much faster. So Oldgrus is really deserving of that number 3 spot on our list. Literally everything in his kit is a positive and something that you want on your team for the Fire Knight's castle. Number 2 is going to be Ruella. Why is Ruella so good for the boss? Well, let's start with her A1, alright? Her A1 is probably the best we've seen so far. Her A1 is a triple hitter, and it has a 100% chance to steal 5% of the boss's turn meter per hit, so 3 times, if you're landing a crit. Now, stealing 5% of the boss's turn meter is nothing to scoff at, because a turn meter steal isn't the same as a turn meter drop. It's actually much better. So after she crits on all 3 of her hits, you will need a builder with 100% crit rate, as well as enough accuracy, but you just throw in some crit rate gloves and you should be good on that. Just make sure she has 100% crit rate. So after she lands all 3 hits, she's going to have dropped the boss's turn meter by 15%. But not only that, because it's a turn meter steal, she'll also add that 15% to her turn meter, allowing her to get to her next turn 15% quicker, which means effectively you're creating like a 30% turn meter difference between you and the boss, which is really nice. And then her A2 is even better. Her A2 again is a triple hitter. That's something we haven't seen with a lot of the other A2s today. A lot of the other A2s we've seen have been single target hits, but with her A2, it's a triple hitter. And each hit has a 70% chance to land decreased defense, weaken, and decreased speed. And that's each hit. So 3 times you have a 70% chance to land each one of these debuffs, which means most of the time you're landing all 3. Decreased defense and weaken are not essential for this boss fight in my opinion, but they will allow your damage dealers to just smack the boss so much harder. But that decreased speed is something I would consider essential for this boss fight, and is really nice to land that with such a high chance. And then her A3, probably the weakest part of her kit, maybe other than her aura in my opinion, is just a fill turn meter on all of her allies plus an increased crit rate. Honestly, this A3, I don't really think you should be using it in the boss fight. I think really the A2 and the A1 are all you should be spamming against this boss. I don't really feel like the A3 is very necessary for this fight, unless for some reason you need to boost the turn meter of your other allies for them to get back. And then she has a decent aura for the boss fight, increase ally accuracy in dungeons by 40. If you're struggling to meet some of the accuracy thresholds, this will help you out a ton. But generally, building accuracy for the Fire Knight's castle on normal isn't too difficult. It's about 10 accuracy you need per stage. So if you're trying to hit stage 25, you need about 250 accuracy, roughly. So absolutely insane champion for our number 2 spot. But our number 1 is even better. And our number 1 Fire Knight normal champion, I'm sure most of you guessed, this champion is so good for so many places in the game. I think she's been in the game since launch, but I'm not 100% sure because I have not been playing since launch. But it is Allure. Now, why is Allure so good for the Fire Knight's castle? Well, it's extremely simple actually, alright? Ignore the aura, ignore the A3, ignore the A2. The only thing on her kit that matters is this A1. This A1 is one of the most powerful A1s in the entire game. Attacks 3 times at random, decreases the target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. So even though it's attacked 3 times at random, the boss is the only enemy on the field when you get to the boss fight. So all 3 attacks are going to go right towards the boss. Meaning that if she has 100% crit rate and there are no affinity issues, she will drop the boss's turn meter by 75%. If you have her built fast enough with enough crit rate and enough accuracy, she can single-handedly on her own stop the boss from taking any turns once you break his shield. And if you're using Allure, make sure that you actually have a team set up and make sure you've disabled the A2 and the A3 for the boss fight. They are not useful or necessary whatsoever. Literally, when you get to the boss, you want Allure to only be using this A1. That's it. If you pull Allure on your account, basically normal mode Fire Knight becomes one of the easiest pieces of content in the game because she is that good. You put her with a couple other multi-hitters, an ally attacker, you break the boss's shield, she spams her A1s for the rest of the fight, the boss never takes a turn. It's insane. So even though the rest of her kit isn't very good for Fire Knight, her A1 is so much better than any other champions on this list that she just takes the number 1 spot. Her A1 is more useful than any of these other champions kits combined. That's how good this A1 is, and that's probably the reason they've never released a champion with an A1 as good as this, because it's just completely busted. Even a legendary like Nut only drops turn meter by 45% versus her 75%. They probably realized that this was too strong, but it's too late to nerf it now, so they just figure they're not going to add any more that are this powerful. But that's going to do it for the top 5 epics for the Fire Knight's dungeon on normal mode. Let me Let me know if you agree with this list down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know if you think any other champions should have been on it or maybe been an honorable mention. I've been Grinch KD. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.